Welcome back to Wave 3 Listens. Aaron Whaley has been nice enough not only to come in and give us expert legal advice, but to also let me kind of pick the topic, because I think there's something specific that we all want to know about if you happen to be in an accident. Aaron is an expert, over 10 years of experience, and he joins us now. Aaron, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, John. Appreciate you having me here. I tell you what, after that, I'm starving. I didn't have any lunch today, so I'm going to have to get something to eat after this.
Well, you know, you're a damn good lawyer. I'm going to be careful here. Let's talk damages, okay? Because we picked a different topic every week. So how do you assess damages? Tell me a little bit about the process.
So on its face, it seems pretty simple. There's two basic categories, okay? There's economic damages and non-economic damages. Economic damages are pretty simple. It's the money out of your pocket, medical bills, lost wages if you can't go to work, property damage to a car or something else possibly. And that's generally easy on its face to figure out. Then from there you have to look past, so you have your past economic damages and past non-economic damages, and then you have to look to the future. And some people are going to have more problems in the future, and we can't wait. We don't want to wait 10 years for somebody's condition to get better or to see what the future holds, and so we kind of have to look into the crystal ball a little bit and figure out what's going on. So when we look at, for example, economic damages, looking back is easy. We can get a copy of all your medical records, a copy of all your medical bills, and see what the costs were. We go, okay, it was this much money. Hey, guys, you owe us this back. All right, that's easy. We can go, you missed a week of work or a month of work or 2 months of work, and you had doctor's notes. So that's easy. We can look and figure out how much you make, how much you missed out. Simple. Now, when we look into the future, though, it's a little different.
Yeah, because you don't know how fast someone's going to heal. You don't know any ancillary problems they may have. So please continue. I'm sorry.
That's fine. So if we're going to look in the future, now, generally speaking, we like to wait until you're better before we start trying to make this type of an analysis, because most people, frankly, they do get better. If it's a minor injury or even a lot of significant injuries, if you break a bone, your body heals and it's fine. A lot of times broken bones actually heal back better than the way they were before. That's just kind of the way the body works. Kind of helps you out a little bit. But some people don't ever get better. And eventually you kind of realize that, and your doctors realize that, and we get that information from your doctor, and you reach what's called MMI. That's maximum medical improvement. That's essentially as good as you're going to get with existing therapy and such. And so we go into something else. Either you're going to need a future surgery, you're going to need chronic care, you're going to need pain medication. I've had clients on pain management for decades before, and that all becomes damages that you have to present to either an insurance company or a jury if you're trying to get compensation for that.
I would think too, Aaron, if you have some type of physical impairment and perhaps you have your job includes physical labor, then it's going to affect your income as well. All of that is figured into this, isn't it?
Absolutely. And so you may not be able to go back to work. And so we have to figure out, not only, we can't just look at, well, you were making X amount of dollars a year and project that forward. A lot of times what we have to do is actually get an economist to tell us, based upon your education level, based upon the job that you're doing, your skill set, if you're 20 years old or 30 years old or even my age, I'm almost 45, I've still got a pretty healthy work life in front of me. And so if I suddenly can't work, I have to be able to figure out how much money that's going to cost me. How much am I going to lose? And not only that, sometimes people can go back to work, but because of the nature of their injury, like let's say it's a back injury. Back injuries tend to degenerate over time, and so they get worse. So maybe you can work today, but instead of working to 67, you can only work to 60, or you can only work to 55. And so your work life gets cut off at the end. And so you have to be able to have somebody present that and know that and understand how that works. And so we have economists that we use, doctors that we use that understand these things and can communicate that to us so that we can communicate that either to a jury or to the insurance company and trying to get the maximum amount for your settlement. Because remember, and I've said this before, you only get one chance at a settlement or at a verdict. You can't go back and say, well, I'll take your money now, and then next year when the doctor says, hey, you're still having problems or you need surgery now, you can't go back and do it again. And so you have to be able to understand what all the damages are and how to figure them out in order to get the maximum amount that you're entitled to get. And that's just economic damages. When we start looking at non-economic damages, the infamous pain and suffering award, that's certainly more difficult to figure because I can't look in a book and figure out what a particular injury, what that pays or what that costs. Now we can look at jury verdicts, and we do that, and we use that a lot. Precedent and what juries have done. There's ways we can look and see for the last 20 years what juries typically do when presented with a particular injury. And that kind of gives us a ballpark value of what cases are worth, and we kind of use that to communicate to adjusters. But now, if I'm communicating to a jury, obviously I don't communicate that information to them. I don't say you should award X amount of money because this is what juries in the past have done. That's not how trials work. So there you have to understand how to communicate pain and suffering. Not only is it, gosh, that back injury or whatever it is painful, but you have to communicate the suffering part. Let's say you have, have a back injury, and then suddenly, you can't lift up as much as you used to, and so, okay, big deal. But what if that means you can't lift up your grandbaby? Or you can't lift up your kid anymore, or you can't do grocery shopping without help.
You can't put a value on some of that, right?
Right. It's hard. It is. It's hard to put value on that, and you have to be able to understand that and know those type of simple questions, and that type of communication that you want to get from your client so that you can then present that to the jury or the insurance adjuster to maximize that value.
You mentioned something there that you're right. When you can touch a jury emotionally, what you just said, a lot of attorneys may not notice that, but you said, can you pick up your grandchildren anymore? If I'm a member of that jury, I feel compassion for that person. I feel empathy because I'm going, oh my goodness, I can't imagine not being able to do that. So those kind of little nuances, and it's not a trick, it's real. I mean, these people are going to suffer because of that. Right.
And, it's also about communicating things that we can relate to. A lot of people who are injured and especially who have chronic or long-term injuries, one of the things that it affects is their sleep, is their ability to lay down into a bed and fall asleep. If you have pain, no matter where it is, you have difficulty doing that oftentimes. And you know how you get when you've had a bad night's sleep and you feel cranky the next day? Well, imagine that bad night of sleep happens every single night. And every night you go and lay down and you can't get to sleep. Or you go to sleep for a couple of hours and you wake back up again. And it's just little things like that that's important to understand and know and get that information from your client. I had a trial a few years ago from this fantastic gentleman who was a war veteran who was just stoic. And he had multiple broken bones in his ribs and had a collapsed lung, and he would never say much more than, it hurt. And so you kind of have to be able to pull that out and talk to his daughter and other people around him. He was definitely a tough guy. So
it gets very personal, and I can tell you're very skilled at that. Again, with over 10 years of experience, you mentioned the network of professionals that he knows, medical experts that you'll need, people to evaluate your case the very best, and he doesn't hand it off to anyone else. There's the number. Again, it's the Whaley Law Firm.